another thing that's sick, and it's hard to even talk about, but we need to talk about it, is school shootings. Um, and I know you are an absolute wealth of knowledge on this stuff, but people are wondering what the solution is. Um, do you have armed, do you have armed teachers at the school? Do you have SROs assigned to every school? That's kind of like the response to the crisis. But I'd like you to talk a little bit also about prior to the crisis, like what, kind of like you did in On Killing, as far as talking about the things that you can watch for in kids that's going to desensitize them to the act of killing.
Well, let's begin with our language, because we call these a shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting is an Olympic sport.
Yes.
Shooting as our constitutionally protected right. Shooting basketballs makes millions of dollars. Shooting a movie, TV show gets Emmys, Oscars. Cowboys shoot, soldiers shoot in movies, always brave and courageous. In every other context, the word shooting is positive. So we call these massacres shooting. We can't even call them what they are. And you should be a little ticked off every time you hear a mass murder, a massacre, a murder called a shooting. Cops are the shooters. They are the killers, the murderers. Cops are law-abiding. The criminal is the bad guy. And so our very language is programming us to think shooting's evil. And we got to confront it and get rid of it. We, across America, active shooter response. We've been real busy during deer season. So the whole idea that guns are evil and the shooting is the bad part and the shooter's the bad guy, it's anti-gun propaganda coming out of our mouth. Every time we call a criminal act a shooting. When do we stop using the word massacre and murder, homicide, multiple homicide? In our book on spiritual warfare, we talk about an article in a NIJ science paper about how we're taking these shooters and we're giving them positive connotations, and they use the word shooter. They never want to use the word murder or killer. The whole article talked about how we're giving them positive connotations, constantly calling them this positive term. They're shooters. The Parkland, Florida school killer, he said, I'm going to be the next school shooter. He embraced that word. He didn't say, I'm going to commit murder, I'm master, I'm going to be a shooter. So we can't even call these crimes what they are. And it's anti-gun propaganda coming out of our mouth. And what if he hasn't fired yet? Oh, he wasn't shooting. He's not an active shooter. And so this whole business traps us to understand how much the media has brainwashed us and by controlling our language. But let's step back then and talk about what does happen, because this is huge. Dr. John Lott is a Harvard economist, did amazing work. I had the honor to co-present with the man one time. And he had an article just a couple of months ago you'll come to me, real-time politics or real-time. Yeah. Look up Dr. John Lott, arming school teachers. He says, now let's back up. I tell my audiences that nobody can keep track of all the solo homicides, but I think I've been able to keep track of every multiple homicide in our schools nationwide. And with 3 exceptions, every one of the multiple homicides, there was not a cop in the school. With 3 exceptions, if there's a cop in the school, it's about the best guarantee it's not going to happen. Now, the 3 exceptions were like the one recently in Georgia, then we had one in Oxford, Michigan, one in Santa Fe, Texas, and all 3 times there was a cop on scene, but the minute they got there, not another kid died. The greatest achievement of the crime that didn't happen. But John Lott says, other than a suicide or a murder in the parking lot after hours, there has never been a loss of life in a school with armed educators. Now, Utah has been doing this for over a quarter of a century, ever since Columbine. See, in Utah, concealed carry in the school and concealed carry, the same thing. Why would the rule change when you get in the school? I'm allowed to carry a gun everywhere else. I walk in the school, I can't carry a gun. Why would the law change? So Utah, if you're allowed to carry a gun out there, you're allowed to carry a gun in here. Utah's had armed educators over a quarter of a century, 100% success. Ohio, for closing on 2 decades now, Ohio has 85% of all schools, school districts in Ohio have some armed educators. Now, the program they teach has been, a lot of other states are running it, grabbing it. It's called FASTER, Faculty and Staff Training Emergency Response. Great training. It's just a little less than a week. But you have to arrive with marksmanship skills. We're not going to teach you how to shoot. You have to be nominated by your fellow teachers. You have to be approved by your leadership. And these people in the schools, 100% success. Now, a judge said, back up, a New York or a London Times reporter came and saw the training. And he said in the London Times, I never thought I would say this. Having seen the people taking the training, having taken the training, I now support the idea of armed educators in American schools.
Yeah.
London Times, buried on page 5 and never mentioned again. Every time you hear armed educator, like something goofy or crazy.
Yeah.
After the Parkland, Florida massacre, that's what they did.